Hi, remember me? It's been some time since we caught up, and given that I'm about to leave Dubai in the next few days, I thought it was about time that I told you the story of how I got here. If you've been following me on Instagram, then you'll kind of know some of this story already, because I do regular check-ins on Instagram and generally update you all the time as to what I'm doing. But for those of you who haven't been keeping up with my Instagram, this is the story of how I ended up in Dubai. So let's wind it back to the end of 2019. The end of 2019, I went through a really tough time in my personal life, which I didn't share with you because I'm not a big one for sharing very personal things while it's still very raw. I kind of think you need time to process these things yourself before you kind of expose yourself to everybody else's opinions on social media. So I'm still kind of processing it, and maybe we'll go into that at some point in the future. Anyway, the result of that was I ended up living on my own, which was unexpected. And then in March, we went into lockdown. So that was some very salty icing on an already shit cake, basically. I'm not saying that I had it any worse than anybody else. Lockdown was horrendous for everyone, and I certainly didn't have it half as bad as many people that I know. But nevertheless, I did find it tough being locked down completely on my own, given that I hadn't been previously, and I am such a social butterfly, as you guys know, so kind of having all of that taken away from me at once and having to kind of embrace this new lonely, isolated world was kind of tough. Anyway, over the summer I kind of just dealt with it, we all got on with it, the weather wasn't too bad, etc. And then when it got to the end of the summer, I kind of foresaw that this might be going on for some time, so I basically asked my boss if I could go away for a couple of weeks in October. This was at a time when there were no travel restrictions at all, apart from the fact that you had to quarantine when you got back. And I was basically in quarantine anyway. Our offices had been closed since March, which you might remember if you watched any of my Diaries of a PI Lawyer in March. So our offices were closed, everything had gone online in terms of work, even my court hearings had gone virtual via Microsoft Teams, all my client meetings were virtual. We were on complete closure from a work point of view. So I kind of wanted to get away for a couple of weeks. I didn't know anyone in Dubai. I'd been here a few times on holiday and I quite liked it, and I just wanted to get away really. And I said to my boss, I'm going to take my laptop because I'm going on my own and I imagine I'll be doing work while I'm there. I'm not going to take the full 2 weeks as annual leave, which turned out to be a blessing, because whilst I was away, Boris effectively announced lockdown 2. We had a little bit of a break over the summer and it looked like things might be on the way up, but that announcement came whilst I was away. And as I was set up to work abroad, I essentially just said to my boss, look, do I really need to come back? I can do everything perfectly well from here. Everything's online. I don't need to be in the office. Can I stay for a while? And he said yes. So I ended up staying for a while, and here I am in June, so nearly 9 months later. I did come home briefly over Christmas because Birmingham actually stayed in tier 3, which meant that we could fly other than for business reasons. So I was able to fly back just in the nick of time before we went into full lockdown on flights on the 30th. Yeah, so basically that's the story of how I ended up here. So a lot of you have asked how I got a job out here, etc., how I got placed out here. That wasn't really the case. I was still very much working for a UK firm. I just happened to choose to work remotely from here, so I wasn't employed by a Dubai-based company. We don't have a branch here, nothing like that. I was just opting to change my work from home location effectively to somewhere warmer and sunnier. So that is the story of how I ended up here. I didn't know anyone, as I said. I knew kind of friends of friends, and people put me in touch with people who were out here, but no one who I'd actually physically met before. So I literally just kind of packed a bag and hoped for the best. I've lived in various other countries before on my own, so it's not something I'm new to, but it's certainly not something I've done for a long time. So it was a steep learning curve moving to Dubai, and actually the first 6 weeks that I lived here, I didn't really meet a single soul. I just booked an apartment through booking.com near to downtown city centre because it was the only place that I really knew well, having visited here. And the only people I saw were in the gym for the first 6 weeks, which was kind of an experience, but I kind of wanted that. I just kind of wanted a bit of a cleanse and to get away, do some yoga, get fit, get healthy, sort my mind out from all the shit that had occurred in like the previous 12 months. So I kind of needed that break, I think. But after a while, I started to realise that there was actually a life here. You know, things were open, clubs were open, beach clubs were open, restaurants were open. And I was kind of feeling a little bit lonely, feeling like I want to do these things, but I don't have anyone to do them with. So the friends of friends who I'd met actually suggested that I do something which was totally alien to me and something which made me totally cringe inside, and something that I would never ever consider doing in the UK, which was to join a couple of Facebook groups for girls in Dubai and post saying that I was looking for friends. This just made me feel so uncomfortable. I mean, here I am, like in my mid-30s, a lawyer, and I'm literally putting a post out saying, will somebody be my friend? But the thing about Dubai is that it's such a transient city. The vast majority of people are only here for a couple of years on a work placement or traveling through. So it's not like you're trying to kind of move to a city where everyone's made their cliques and have been friends since school or uni or whatever. Most people here, they're friends they've only made in the last year or so. So actually, this is completely normal in Dubai to be new here and know no one and want to make friends. And this is the totally accepted practice, is to put a post on Facebook and say you're looking for friends. So this is literally what I did. I still find it cringy, but hey, we're over it. Anyway, put this post out, got like 50 responses. It was mental, loads of comments, loads of DMs from people wanting to meet up. So I basically kind of sifted through them to try and find people who I thought were the most like-minded, because I was never going to be able to meet up with 50 people. So I kind of picked a handful of people who I'd met on a couple of separate occasions, and naturally I kind of found myself gelling with some people more than others, and those I did gel with I saw on a regular basis, and then those friendship groups kind of branched out as each of us met new people from going out. And here I am 9 months later with more friends than I could possibly imagine. I've met so many incredible people. I've got a couple of housemates now who are great. And it's just been the most incredible experience. Definitely a roller coaster. There were definitely a lot of times when I missed home and I missed my family, but you know, I've literally built a life out here in 9 months from nothing. I am coming back now. I'm not staying here forever. But it just kind of goes to show that you can do that, and don't be afraid to do that. And I think in this kind of new world that we're living in right now, where remote work is going to become a lot more the norm, there is definitely the possibility of working remotely out here. And even if you don't want to work remotely out here, if you're thinking about moving out here as a lawyer, I did a really interesting Instagram live with a guy called Raymond Kiswaney, who actually was a fellow University of Birmingham graduate, and then ended up working in the US, and now he is a partner at a law firm here in Dubai. We had a really interesting conversation about careers in Dubai, how the cross-qualification works, how the training contract process works, and it's definitely very accessible for you as a UK law student. So if you've ever thought about wanting to move to Dubai and practice law, please watch that video as to how you might do that. And I can't recommend it enough. Please don't let your hesitation be about not meeting people or not being able to make a life here. It's so easy to do, and people literally do it all the time. And there's a great legal community here as well. In terms of the practical side, I am going to link those Facebook groups that I mentioned in the description, so that if you're thinking about moving, you can join them too. They're a great way of finding accommodation as well, because people often advertise flat shares on there, which actually would be my recommendation in terms of finding accommodation. Try and do that, because if you are a tourist trying to find short-term accommodation, it's super expensive. I will link some places where you can find short-term accommodation in the description as well. But it's a lot easier once you get your residency visa, because then you can rent for a long time and it becomes much cheaper. Trying to rent a month at a time, it literally costs you double than it does to try and rent for like 6 months or a year at a time, but you can only do that once you have your work visa. So if you're coming initially as a tourist looking for work, it's a lot cheaper to try and find somebody who's already got a long lease to move in with. So I will put some help in the description, like I said. In terms of what you need to know about visas, if you're coming from the UK, you will get a 30-day visa when you arrive, which you can extend for up to 90 days without needing to have any kind of employment or leave the country. Obviously, if you are looking for work, then the company that will employ you will sort your visa out. Obviously, because of travel restrictions, etc., the authorities are being quite relaxed when it comes to extending your tourist visa. So if you do need to be here for an extended period of time without finding work, then you can extend your visa without having to go across the border at the moment, but that might change once travel restrictions ease. The other options for visa are if you're working remotely for a company in the UK, you can get a remote work visa, which is a 2-year visa, but there are quite high earnings requirements for those visas, so just bear that in mind. There's also a freelance visa if you have any kind of side hustle, like digital marketing or photography or anything like that, then you can get a freelance visa. And also, obviously, the main one which you're looking for is a work visa, but you can only get that once you're employed here. So that's kind of all the practical stuff that you need to know. I'm going to show you my apartment because I think it will make you want to move here immediately. This is one that I have had to do on a short-term rent, which means it is at the pricier end of the spectrum, but you could get it for a lot cheaper if you moved in with somebody who was a resident or you were a resident yourself. So this is a 3-bedroom apartment which I share with 2 other people. I'll give you a quick tour. Okay, here is the grand tour. So in we go to the open plan lounge kitchen. The deco here is kind of quirky. The landlord is obviously into colourful stuff, which I don't mind. So here, this is the kitchen, lounge, diner area. So it's really nice, big and airy. Open space. This was my work from home space, but I've literally just dismantled it and packed it because I'm leaving imminently. But you can see it's super airy, loads of light. I just love working in here. The main event is kind of the balcony, to be honest. Please ignore our group washing outside. But yeah, this view is like immense. Okay, you're steaming up, so I'm gonna have to go inside. Sorry about that. You can get an idea of the heat. It's literally so hot outside. It's like mid-40s at the moment, so everything's mad. So yeah, this is my dining area. Kitchen looks a little bit like this. So kind of all nice and compact. Love doing my cooking in here. I've got the equivalent of Hello Fresh over here, which is called Hello Chef, and I flipping love it. Okay, so that is the lounge, kitchen, balcony. I will show you the bedrooms now. Let me just flip you around, hold on. Okay, so this is a 3-bed because I've got 2 housemates, as I mentioned. I'm not going to go into their rooms, obviously. I respect their privacy, but all the rooms are kind of a similar kind of size. So this is my room on the end. I am in the middle of packing, so just kind of excuse the state of it. But yeah, I've got a little bathroom on the side there, nice enough size. And then, yeah, this room, super light and airy, big double bed, almost walk-in wardrobes, but not quite. And yeah, then it opens out onto the balcony. So the balcony runs the length of all the 3 rooms, which is so nice. We all get a little bit of balcony space. I'm not gonna go outside again because of what happened last time. But yeah, that is pretty much the tour. The other plot twist, which some of you probably know already, is that I no longer work for IM. I handed in my notice a little while ago and I finished working there about 6 weeks ago. And I'm on to new exciting things, which I'll reveal more about in due course, but I am going to do a whole separate video talking about all of the reasons why I left my job, which will hopefully be helpful to you when considering where you might want to work in the future and the type of career that might be right for you. So it's going to be a very in-depth video. It might take me a little while to put it together, but that is going to be part 2 of this video, so stay tuned for that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back shortly with part 2 of this video, but also an SQE video, as I recently spoke to the SRA and I've got a few updates for you in that respect. So catch up with you in a few weeks. Take care, guys.